Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be starting another reading vlog. I feel like there should have been at least one reading vlog between the one I did last and this one that you're going to be seeing, but I was trying to do a different way of reading. I wanted to see if this way would work, because I like the idea that I'd be reading like multiple books a week and everything, but I quickly realized that I just can't focus in that way to read that many books at once. So that's not happening, sadly, because it would be nice and all of that. But I am right now starting, well, not starting, I'm actually already halfway through this book, but I thought that I would start this reading vlog here with this one. But I did finish a book last week, and that was Anne of the Island by Ella Montgomery. That's the third book in the Anne of Green Gables series. And this week I have started rereading the fourth book, which is Anne of Windy Poplars. And that is when she has finally admitted her feelings for Gilbert. She is now a principal at someplace, I forget what the place is actually called. She has to deal with the Pringles and yeah, and kind of being like dealing with being separated from Gilbert for 3 years because he still has to go through other things. But anyways, that's basically all of that. Last week I started The Rook by Daniel O'Malley, but that whole week went crazy because, again, like I said, I was trying a new way of reading, and it wasn't working, and I took a break from reading in the latter half of the week, and I felt like going back into that wouldn't work, and I wanted to really enjoy it because I was enjoying the book as it was, but I felt like if I try to go back into it with where I was, being frustrated with things not working, I just knew that it probably, I had to feel like I wasn't going to enjoy it once I went back into it. So I'm going to hold off on that one. Also, I'm holding off on another book that I brought from the library because I accidentally got ahead of myself with my videos that I was watching, and I thought, because I thought I was going to be done with this book by the time I got to that, and I wasn't done, and then I forgot about that video, and it just started playing, and I was like halfway through when I realized, like, oh shoot, I was planning to read this book, and now I feel like I shouldn't read it, because all the things that she said that were negative are things that I agree with, but I want to be able to, like, formulate my own solid opinions before that, and I was enjoying it even though I knew those issues, so I felt like that would affect my reading. So again, that's something that I'm gonna have to hold off on, probably reborrow at a later point. So I am starting another, so I've started another book other than what I'm rereading, and there's another library book, and this is The Round House by Louise Erdrich. I think that's how you pronounce her name. And this is about Joe, who's 13 years old, and one day his whole life is turned upside down when his mother has been attacked. This is set in 1988. They live on a reservation in North Dakota. Yeah. And so there's the complication of all of that with the legal process of trying to, all that. And so the mother kind of isolates, well, not kind of, she does. She isolates herself from the whole family, and she doesn't want to deal with what happened to her. And the father, he's just trying to piece things together to make the law work for them. And the son, Joe, who's the narrator of this story, he decides that he's going to go and investigate everything on his own because he feels frustration over the fact that he doesn't feel like the investigation is going the way it should be. So, I am 160 pages in, so I am pretty much halfway through the book, as I think I already said to you, and I am just sucked into the story. Sometimes the writing feels a little, like, stiff. The sentences feel like a little bit choppy for me and just like super short and choppy at times, but I am pleasantly surprised that I'm really liking the narration of this book. Like I said, Joe is 13 years old, and so it feels like I probably wouldn't like it, especially because you would feel like you're like missing certain things that a 13-year-old wouldn't understand. But she worked it out in a way to make it work, because it's more of like the adult Joe is reflecting on this part of his life and maybe telling the story to somebody or writing the story down for his own purposes. He's with me. Okay, so what was I saying? Oh yeah. So the fact that he, as an adult, is writing the story, telling this story, really helped, because even though for the most part it is the 13-year-old boy, sometimes the adult self will insert himself in moments where a 13-year-old wouldn't know certain things, or he comes in and reflects on certain things that maybe the 13-year-old couldn't understand about his own self. So I'm enjoying that aspect, but I'm kind of curious as to why the main character is a boy, because I mean, I'm not saying that a woman can't write a man or a man can't write a woman. I'm just saying that it's kind of interesting, because I feel like at times I wondered if this was an accurate interpretation of a boy, but then I'm less like, yeah, probably it is. So I don't know. That was something that that popped into my head as I was reading through this half, but we're slowly seeing things start to fall together about like the exact events, and I'm just completely hooked by the story and by the characters. I feel so bad for the father, because he's basically, you know, like the son doesn't really understand what the father is going through. He feels kind of abandoned by his father, because it seems like he's not really paying all that much attention. But I think that the father feels so forlorn and just so on his own that he doesn't really know how to be present at the moment, because he's so focused in also on trying to like figure out how to handle this by the law. Also, I don't think I mentioned this, but the father is a judge, so I think he thinks that possibly one of the people that one of the cases that came in front of him may be one of those people that he, you know, ruled against, may have done it as revenge or something like that. So it's all very just, I'm really liking seeing how like the pieces are falling apart. Like I'm not liking like the events or anything, but Joe is such a great character. I think that overall, that even though I say like there's like certain times where I'm just wondering if a great representation of him as a boy, I do feel like I really liked him as a character. And so there's this one moment where he finds something and I'm just like, oh my gosh, seriously. I'm pretty sure that maybe that was part of the whole thing. I don't know. But anyways, really enjoyed it so far. Again, I'm halfway through, so I will update you a little bit later before I have to go to work, and we'll see where I am then. I'm reading about I'm just reading like 100 pages a day of this, so I am almost 200 pages in. Oh, actually, I haven't even started Wendy Poplar because I decided that I'm only gonna read one book at a time. I thought maybe if I had enough time in a day that I would read both, but I don't think that's gonna happen, and I don't really want to feel like I'm pushing myself to read a lot, because that will probably ruin my reading experiences of my books. So I'll just go back and forth between my first time reads and rereads kind of a thing. I just needed to read this one because this one is due pretty soon. Also, I did try Mortal Engines. I forgot by Philip Reeves, because the film is coming out or has come out. I don't remember which, but I know it's going to be in theaters pretty soon if it hasn't already come out in theaters. But I didn't realize this was a children's series. Like, I've read children's books. Like Harry Potter started out as in the children's section and then grew into YA, but the idea that this was children kind of turned me off, and I just wasn't really into it. So that was a DNF. I could DNF, but I'm not really counting as a DNF or anything because I didn't really read that many pages. I kind of knew as soon as that I picked it up and flipped through the pages, because it was a request. I didn't like go scrounging around the library for it. As soon as I saw the book and the format and everything, I was like, shoot, this is children's, and I know that I'm not in the mood for children. So maybe if I was in the mood and I had picked it up, maybe I would have been more willing to read it. But for now, I'm just gonna stick with seeing the film. I heard that even though the trailer makes it out looking it's like very heavy CGI, that it's actually better when you actually watch the whole thing. So that the CGI isn't as bad as it seems like it will be in the trailer. So I'm hoping that is the case. But I'm not gonna go into the theaters to watch it. I'll wait until it comes out on DVD. But noodle. Also, was planning to walk to work, but I don't think that's happening because it's raining outside. And so there's that. But I thought I have to update you. I will talk to you later. So I got to 200 pages, read my 100 pages for the day, and thought I would just update you on where we are and what my thoughts are. So I think I mentioned that he had found something, and I was pretty sure that it was connected to his mom's situation, and I was right. It is, and I'm not sure if I should be either proud of myself for connecting it, or if it was just too easy, and that the things that are happening are a little bit too easy, which I do kind of agree with my last bit there, where I feel like everything seems a little bit obvious, and that if she was planning for it to be more of a mystery, that she made certain clues and hints a little bit too obvious for it to be all that mysterious. But it doesn't really take away my experience of this book, because I don't really know what the money is about. Oops, I just said something, but oh well. So, like, we don't know what it's all about that he found, or like what his mother had to do with it or anything. Well, I don't think that his mother had anything to do with the thing that he found, really. But there's still a lot of questions that I can't figure out. So, 200 pages, and I'm thinking tomorrow I will actually finish this book. I am determined, and I just really just wanting to know what happened, what is going to happen. Something that I found really interesting and actually kind of sad is that there's this whole struggle about who has the right to prosecute the case, like, and even if the reservation had the right, they didn't really have the power or something like that. That's what it seemed like she's saying through this, and I just find that really disheartening, because it's like, then how are they ever to have justice if they don't have the power to rule over their own, and it's just really frustrating, especially with saying this case, like when like someone like they're, and then like they already know who's done it, and yet the struggle of this feeling of this person is actually going to get away with it because of all of this situation and all that. So it's just really frustrating, because the problem is that they don't know for sure where it actually happened. Did it happen on the reservation? Did it happen on white land? And so it's like there's this whole huge confusion around all of that. So yeah, it's just one of the things where you're just like really frustrated with the whole situation, because you just want, I feel like they should have the right to have that. They should be able to rule it, even, so it's just one of the things. But that's something that I didn't even thought about. I thought that if they, that they would have that right, like it shouldn't really matter if it's some, so just can't imagine. But so really strong so far, and we will see what the latter half of this, or the latter 100 and some pages, is going to be. Will hold for me, and if I feel satisfied with the ending, because there's just certain things that I'm not really sure about yet. So I will keep you updated. Good morning, guys. So today I am planning to finish this. I have already read 20 pages already. Yep, 20 pages. So I have 70 pages left, and I should be able to easily do this today. Also, I forgot to update you guys on my puzzle, and I am starting to get a little bit frustrated because the edges, I know that I'm not sure if I have them right, and I haven't even gotten to the other side, and I'm just so frustrated with it for now, but I am also enjoying it at the same time. It's just the edging is always the most frustrating part of it, because you think it should be the easiest part, but then you realize that it's not. So I will show you what it looks like at this point a little bit later when I am up, but I thought I would just update you a little bit on this. So I think I talked about how the certain government law works, or really doesn't work, on the reservation, and at least I talked to somebody about it. I don't know if I talked here. So Joe was getting really upset because he just doesn't understand. And then he talks about what's it called? It's the case Oliphant versus Suquamish, and he says, took from us the right to prosecute non-Indians who commit crimes on our land. So, that's just worse and worse. So that makes a lot of things more clear as to why things are going the way that they should or would be if it hadn't happened on a reservation. So it's just really upsetting, because I didn't think that was a thing. To me, it really shouldn't be a thing, and it's just a little frustrating. But so that makes me wonder, what is the outcome of this? What's going to be the outcome of all of this? Are we going to get any resolution, or is that the whole point, that there can't be a resolution? So we shall see. So I finally got the edges done. I'm pretty sure I got it all right. I was sure that I was missing some pieces, but I think I did it. So now we have all that to deal with. But that will be the fun part for me. The edges is always kind of that one thing, Like I said, you think it's going to be easy, but then you find out it's harder than what it actually is. I know that the inside is going to be even harder, so you always know that. But hey guys, so I have finished this book. I finished it yesterday. I could have finished it then, but I had work, and I finished it. I think I actually finished it after work, so I was still reading it after that point, and then I was talking a lot about it, a lot through it with my dad. And at that point, I started realizing that I was really starting to get frustrated with that I couldn't just openly talk about certain things, because it would be considered spoilers, at least in my point of view. So I'm just gonna talk about whatever I want to talk about, and it's gonna be spoilery when it comes to the plot aspects, but I
will most likely do a separate video review of these books so that it won't be spoilery, or maybe I'll just do like a monthly wrap up where I just wrap up all the books I read and give you a general overview of my thoughts there. Actually sounds a little bit better than that, than doing a separate thing, like, as I don't like doing that. But, so this part might be a little spoilery. Let me flip to my page where I got some of my thoughts down here. So I already talked about what this is about, so hopefully you remember that aspect. It feels like I should tell you what it is about, but so Joe is the narrator of this book. He's 13 years old when the story starts, but you have the adult Joe kind of slipping in the story to like tell you certain things that the 13-year-old Joe couldn't know or understand at that point. And I really liked that because especially with a story like this where it's dealing with adult topics, a child won't be able to fully understand all of it. So it was nice to hear the adult Joe come in and actually talk and say something about certain aspects to help not only the reader understand certain things that the younger self didn't, but it kind of like fleshed the story out and it raised it up from just sounding like a child, you know, if that makes sense. I don't really like children voice. I don't like the room because the boy in there is 5 years old and he sounds 5 years old, and it seems really twisted. You think that that'd be a good thing because it's accurate, and yeah, I get that part, like it's good, but I didn't like it because of that. It's just that it felt like there was a lot missing, and I found the voice really annoying. It was really interesting because I like Anna Gables, and she was 11 years old when that starts out, and she does have that voice. So it's like really interesting how that can shift. But for me, I felt like, especially with a topic like this, you needed an adult perspective in there, and that fact that this is like the adult Joe writing this story, but he's writing it in his 13-year-old point of view, was really interesting to see that play out. And I was just completely sucked in. I really was so hooked by Joe's experience as a 13-year-old boy dealing with his mother's attack and trying to comprehend and, you know, how their lives have changed and trying to understand what had happened to his mom and the frustration that he felt when nothing was really going the way that it should have been going, and knowing that they were all helpless in a sense because of the laws that restrict restrict the people on these reservations from being able to seek the justice that they needed. So in the back, and then afterward, she talks about how in 2010 there was a Tribal Law and Order Act. I should really look this up, but to understand what that means. But President Obama called the situation assault on our national functions. So clearly it wasn't a good situation. So I think what it did was that it took away sovereign justice and the safety for Native women. So she says here that 86% of rapes and sexual assaults upon Native women are perpetrated by non-Native men, and few are prosecuted, which is something that is just horrifying to me. And something that I find a little bit frustrating considering how everybody's talking about what is it called, the Me Too movement, and all these women, and I'm not trying to belittle their situation, but it's like they're speaking out. There's this whole group of women who are silenced because they're not getting the justice that they deserve and need. And this is something that really that's something that kept rolling around in my mind as I was reading this book, is that we have this Me Too movement, yet the majority of the people that have come forward, I feel, maybe I'm wrong, are white women. I haven't heard anything that deals with Native Americans and their struggle with justice when it comes to the women who have been sexually assaulted, attacked, raped, etc. And some of them, when I was talking to my dad, he said that they're the ghost people of this country, and I thought that was just like brilliant because it's so true. I feel that they are the ghost people. They're the people that you hear so little from. I mean, from another book that I've read, I feel like some of that is on purpose. Like they keep to themselves in a way. Maybe I'm again mistaken about that, but I wonder at times if like they keep to themselves on purpose, which I can understand that they want nothing to do with white people at all. They have every right to not want that, but it's just like they deserve as much justice as anybody else who has been attacked and assaulted. And so it's something that's been percolating in my mind as I was reading this book is how she's not able to have the same kind of justice in court that people who have spoken out in like the Me Too could possibly have. I mean, I know that there's like this whole situation when it comes to, I don't know, but there's a lot of complications, I'm sure. It's just that you don't hear anything about, like, in the news anywhere about this situation. 86% of women. That's a high percentage. Just so freaking high. So, to get back into the actual book, something else that I wonder about was her choice of making the child male instead of female. Not to say that she can't write a boy's perspective well, because I think that she did. I just always wondered, like, I'm pretty sure that she did that on purpose, that there was some kind of meaning in that, and I could see what the meaning is. You know, he's a boy, he's 13-year-old, he's right on the cusp of becoming a full-grown man, and then to have his mother be attacked like that, that's going to affect him as he grows up into a man too. So I see where she was going. I just always wondered, I was always thinking about that too. It's like, maybe because I always get a little bit frustrated nowadays how it seems like the main characters are always men, and I'm just like, can't be just one main character, that's a woman. A kick-ass woman. I want a superhero woman. And I know that they actually are coming out with another superhero film that is a woman, but I don't know. Anyways, we're getting off topic. So, that was just something that was just a thought. Look, I wondered, and I haven't seen myself, but that was there. The writing itself, I thought that she was able to tell the story in just the right amount of words. She didn't overdo it, but she didn't underdo it. Yet, the writing at times felt very choppy. She had these very short sentences at times that came off like I was reading a list at times, and that really bothered me. I love smooth, flowing, beautiful sentences, and this was almost to the exact opposite of what I like in my writing, so that was something that was a little bit off-putting in my reading of this book. But, again, she was able to just tell this story. It's just straightforward, cut through all the crap, and give you Joe's experiences as this boy trying to deal and handle the situation and having to grow up a little bit faster than he should have had to. The thing about this book is that I could, instead of it says that he goes off to investigate the case on his own, basically, that's what it came off as. It says their quest, it says, set out with his trusted friends, Cappy, Zach, and Angus to get some answers of your own. First off, he goes to Father, whatever his name is, Travis, I think, and that was a little bit twisted for me. I'm like, well, that's just a little weird. Like, I can understand, but the mental thing with this, but I'm just like, he has some major issues, and I'm not even sure if he should be a priest. But you have that, and then he goes to the roundhouse and he investigates. He's able to find the gasoline. tank that the guy, the rapist, used to try to burn his mother alive. And that was that. Basically, as far as investigation went, and that all happened in the first 50 to 60 pages of the book. And so I was like, well, either the synopsis is misleading or she misled them with what it was supposed to be about, because I don't really feel like he did like an actual investigation. It was just that he started off that way, and then that was as far as he could go. Because then after that, it was really just him like living his life as a preteen, trying to deal with that situation, wanting to know who the hell did this to his mom. And so there is this moment where he finds a doll in this lake, and it's stuffed with money. And as soon as that is there, that scene plays out, I knew that it had to do with the attacker, that whatever the money was, he either hid that money there in that doll and put it in there to kind of keep it safekeeping, or he attacked her because he wanted that money and maybe she had hid it. Like, I didn't know the whys and wherefores, I just knew, so it was a little bit too obvious, and I was wondering if she wasn't really hiding, like if she wasn't trying for subtlety, that's fine. But I felt like she could have had a little bit of this in a more subtle fashion, because a lot of things felt a little bit too obvious for me. So I kind of if she was trying to make it mysterious, because she could have explained it through the adult show stuff, right? I'm not really sure. All I know is that it did feel a little bit obvious for me, and that was something that kind of frustrated me, because I was like, I like a little mystery there. And if you're gonna have something where the whole book is talking about who attacked the mother, where did it happen, how did it happen, and there's all these questions, I think there needs to be a little bit more subtlety to keep the reader hooked and wanting to know more. I still wanted to know more, but not as much as I think I would have if that whole thing had been handled better. Then we have the ending. So I am not going to say what happens, but because I think that'd be way too spoilery. Maybe I will go into it. So I don't know, but Joe decides to take justice into his own hands, and after he goes for it, you would think that was where it would end. I felt like that was the perfect ending of this book. Is where that happens, and it could have been that last paragraph, and it was I cannot remember speaking. I can't remember my mother or father speaking. I knew that they knew everything. The sentence was to endure. The way shed tears, and there was no anchor. My mother, so on, so forth. And then he says how. At the same time, I found, as I rose from the chair, I'd gotten old along with them. And I liked those few sentences, that whole last paragraph in the song, where he said, they had all gotten old together, and, this whole experience aged them. And I thought, if she had cut the pages between the justice part and that would have been fine, because I didn't really understand the point. It felt a little bit like it was all abrupt. It was after everything happened too fast, and I just didn't understand the reason for these events. So his very best friend Cappy, he had a girlfriend, and they had sex, and then she leaves because she was just visiting for the youth encounter thing, and then the parents find out that, see the letters, that they had sex, and so they were going to prosecute him for that, even though they're the same age, and that they were going to refuse them to have any chance to visit. So after the take justice into hands moment, they go off on this trip to go to her and take her away from her parents, kind of thing. I mean, they're 13 years old, like, seriously. And actually, I think she was older than him, if I remember. But anyways, they get into an accident and Kathy dies. And then that is when, like, that whole paragraph thing happens. And I still can't figure out what the point of that was. It felt pointless, and it feels like it ruined that whole thing that happened afterwards. And then there was a whole reveal thing. So, like, again, there was this whole issue because, so when she was attacked, there was more to the story than just some psychopath. Because the guy who did it was a psychopath. Raping and then trying to burn her alive. It was more than just that. He had an actual purpose behind what he was doing, and he had someone else there with them, his girlfriend, and she actually, they couldn't find her, so they were assuming that she must have been killed. And so after that last scene, that I feel like should have been like one of the last scenes, he starts having these nightmares, and he remembers how a couple of days when he was trying to figure out how he was going to do it, he was at this cafe and he had his bike outside, and this guy, and I forget his name, it starts with a B, and I don't remember, but when he went after him, the guy started saying how he was having this dream, and it was really strange, and he didn't know if it was a dream or not a dream. And then when Joe starts having this dream, Bugger, that's his name, Bugger, having these nightmares, he goes and finds him, and he's questioning about these dreams, because what he says is like, maybe we could ask her what to do. Not tell her details, of course, or reveal what had happened. Just give advice about these dreams. Lord Prayer of all people, such a 20 thoughts right then. All because the last time I thought of Grandma Clinton, I sent him to her, and right before that, Bugger has stolen my bike. Something about a dream. I sat up. He wanted to see if something he saw was a dream. My own dream was reality, which always come to me on Bugger's intent drunken fixation phase. What had he seen? And so he got all worked up about it and went, yeah. I can understand maybe a little bit more as I read that part, like how that got him there, but there's a whole reveal because he realizes when he talks to Bugger that the dream that he thought was a dream, or that he didn't know was a dream, was actually the girl, the attacker's girlfriend that he had killed. And he also realized that if he had just paid more attention to what Bugger was saying and asked him like what the dream was and all this stuff, he would have realized that it was her, and then he would have actually had gone to jail, which I don't understand, because I feel like they had all the evidence in place for her. So why is murder up higher than this? I mean, I get it, he killed somebody, but he might as well have had killed his mother in a sense. So that just felt a little too easy. Again, this is like one of those things where things just are a little bit too obvious, a little too easy. Like all of a sudden, like lightning struck out of nowhere. Oh my gosh, how in the world did I not see this kind of thing? And I'm just like, well, you couldn't have seen it, and how are you able to see it now? Doesn't make any sense to me. So there's just some things that were a little bit too easy, a little bit too obvious. The ending again felt super rushed, and that I feel like certain things could have just been taken out. Like, I don't know. I just felt like that ending needed a rewrite. But the story itself and the things that I learned from this when it comes to the tribal laws and how much power they actually have to prosecute, which is horrifying to think that they have so little power. At least from what I could gather from this book, like I'm doubting myself on how much of what I am remembering or what I'm thinking of is actually the truth here, in fact. But if what I feel like I got from this book is true, they have very little power, and that is something that every time I think about it horrifies me to think that, because it's like that's not there's no justice in that, and so yeah. Overall, I think I keep thinking like saying that I enjoy this book is not a good word to use, but I enjoyed my reading experience of this book. It opened my eyes to certain things that I didn't know before, and I really just can't say enough about the story itself. I do give this book 4 stars, and there is this parable. I would call it a parable. I probably should would use a different word for this, but there's a story that his grandfather Musham tells him about the round house that I just really loved. So I would highly recommend it just for that story that is told in the book. But I would also highly recommend this book. Just know that it has its faults. Some of them are pretty big faults, but overall, it gets a higher rating just because it had me. The story had me. The characters had me, and I just couldn't get enough of that. So 4 stars. And that is all for me. I am going to try to do more spoilery updates and talk more to my thoughts as I go in my with my reading vlogs, because when I actually do really talk about my thoughts, I get into really good discussions about them with my dad, and I want to share that with you. So these vlogs are going to be more spoilery. I don't really feel like I went full spoilery here, so I'm not going to. I might trigger it here, but I'm not going to do a sidebar, or I might just do a reading wrap up at the end of the month like I mentioned, so we'll see how that goes. But I would love to hear if you've read this before and what you thought of it, and do you know anything about the subject of the law and the court system that surrounds reservations and such, because that is something that really clicked to me, and a lot of recommendations for books that deal with that aspect of reservations, especially in current day. This was set in 1988, so I'm curious if anything has changed from the moment that she has written this book and that time to now. So, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.